when I give people information about their loved ones that I simply could not know, and they say, "How could you know that?" And their hand goes over their mouth. I'm thinking, "How could I know that?" And what it's really about is opening up that pathway with spirit. Mediumship is speaking to the people who have crossed over because love does not end. They want to be near us as much as we want them near us. And love is a survival. Love survives all, everything, and it's universal. I've never met one person on the planet that hasn't at least felt love once. Everyone has this ability to connect with love. And mediumship.
Welcome to Passion Struck. Hi, I'm your host, John R. Miles, and on the show, we decipher the secrets, tips, and guidance of the world's most inspiring people and turn their wisdom into practical advice for you and those around you. Our mission is to help you unlock the power of intentionality so that you can become the best version of yourself. If you're new to the show, I offer advice and answer listener questions on Fridays. We have long-form interviews the rest of the week with guests ranging from astronauts to authors, CEOs, creators, innovators, scientists, military leaders, visionaries, and athletes. Now, let's go out there and become Passion Struck. I am absolutely thrilled today to welcome back Susan Grau. Welcome, Susan. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. So good to be here, John.
I had so many people reach out both from the podcast and from the YouTube requesting I do another session with you. So I am so glad we could put this together.
Excited too.
For those of you who weren't part of the first conversation with Susan, I think we need to do a little bit of a grounding here. So last time we explored your extraordinary near-death experience and how it ended up setting you on this path of incredible healing and connection to others. For those who might have missed that conversation, can you go into a little bit of giving them some perspective on what happened?
Absolutely. I was a little girl. I was almost 5 years old, and I was playing port with some boys. And they said if I wanted to continue playing, I needed to get up and get popsicles out of an unplugged freezer, which I was not aware of in our garage. And I got up inside the freezer, and they closed the freezer door, they closed the garage door, and they ran home. And I had a very profound experience of just being in this space of terror to seeing white lights and being pulled from my body. And I ended up in different spaces or dimensions. I call them rooms, but I would say they were dimensions. And I got to see the difference of what it's like here and what it's like there, and lessons. And I came back with those lessons. I got to be in the room of heart's desires, which was this beautiful space of people's desires and dreams and wishes. And then I moved into the room of knowledge, which again, another dimension, which was where we do our contracts, and just saw so many beautiful, amazing things. And what it did for me is it taught me about personal empowerment. It taught me about not running from things, but facing them. And of course, over my lifetime, I didn't listen to everything they said, but I learned that what I run from chases me, and what I try to control controls me. And I learned how to face my, what I would call my fears or my demons inside, and to recognize that there was more beyond this. There's something so much more beautiful than just the space we're in.
Susan, I just want to go back to the room of heart's desires for a second, because I remember in the first conversation you said you experienced some light beings, and what they were there to tell you is that not all desires are granted, but sometimes what people desire the most isn't good for them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a gap that probably many of us fall into, is we really want something, we desire something, and then we get frustrated because it's not granted. It could be you're praying to the universe, it could be you're praying to God if you're a Christian or a Jewish or Muslim believer. What is that gap? And how do those light beings convey that to us?
Well, I think for me it was I thought something should be a particular way, so I would do everything in my power to create that, including banging my head against walls and asking everyone to join me. And I wanted that to be what I thought it should be and what it should look like instead of going with what they needed it to be or look like. I didn't understand that there was, and even though I had seen it, John, I didn't understand that there was more to the process here than just what we want. I thought if you wanted it bad enough, you could create it. And I forgot to include them in that sometimes things aren't good for us. So, what I saw in that room were people saying things like, God, my mother's sick, please don't let her die. And I want a new car and have my dad buy it for me, and things like that. Just all different levels of prayers and wants and needs. And I asked them if they answered all them. And they said, no, Susie, sometimes what people desire the most isn't good for them. And I didn't understand that. I spent my whole life banging my head against the wall until one day that knowledge came forward when I was ready for it. And I realized that I just have to follow the path. I have to do the next right thing. And if I do the next right thing, things will unfold in front of me that need to unfold. And the things that are meant to be blessed or blocked will be blessed or blocked. The problem with a block wall is you can bang your head through it, battered and bruised at best, or you can shift. And we are always banging our heads into that wall because our brain says we must. Our soul is saying, wait, something's not right. Why isn't this working? We actually verbalize that language. Why isn't this working? Why am I not getting what I want? Why am I not becoming the richest man on the planet? Or why is my job not working out? Or whatever it is. We're actually, our soul is speaking that to us, but our brain's going, no, keep pushing and it'll happen. It'll happen. And what we learn is that pushing as we go through this journey, hopefully, we learn that pushing our way through it is not necessarily it's a forced solution. And what I've learned is a forced solution is never a good solution, ever. We want it to unfold. And that's what they were trying to teach me. Of course, never listened in my whole journey.
Well, I was going through a men's program at my church last month, and we were studying spiritual warfare. And one of the things that the series speaker that we were following on this was talking to us is that often earth time does not equate to spiritual time. And the point he was trying to make is that in earth time, we expect to have answers to our desires happen overnight. And in spiritual lens, that's not how things unfold. You're
No.
nodding. So is this something that you've experienced as well?
Throughout my whole life. Things always come when they're meant to come, but they don't have time there. It's different. They're not set by a clock. And people say to me, I heard that my loved ones, when they die, they can't be with God till this particular amount of time or this or that. They always have this time. And I say, whose calendar are they going by? Are you going by human calendar? And that's what we're doing. And spiritual warfare for me, more than anything, is my brain fighting my soul and what my soul knows. Something pops into my brain that I think is right. And my soul is screaming at me, and I'm not listening. And I think this should come to me at this time. And if I have a script basically in my head that I've learned over my life journey, as a child, I've learned this is the script and this is how it's supposed to look if I'm doing it right, instead of letting things unfold the way the spirit wants it to. But what I've learned throughout my journey, and I still don't always listen, so I've learned it, but I don't always follow it, which is, of course, the human condition, isn't it? But
Yeah,
what
well,
I've learned is that I'm not going to receive everything in my own timing, that it's not going to look exactly how I want it to look. And I don't have to try to control it. I can do the next right thing, do the footwork, and everything else will unfold as it's meant to.
it is so interesting how these things end up playing out and how when the timing does come, it's almost that it was cosmic when everything lined up. I know that's the case for me because I had been given a calling, I call it, from my spirit guides that I was supposed to help the beaten, broken, helpless, hopeless, broken of the world. And for the longest time, I was like, who in the heck am I supposed to be helping? And I think if the answer would have come to me very quickly, which it did not, I think it would have had a completely different impact than what I feel I'm having now because I had to do a lot of soul searching first to realize that I was actually one of
the people I was called to help, which I didn't see in myself at first because it's hard to have that self awareness that something is broken inside of you. But more than that, I needed that awakening to understand how I could help them because I think we're best positioned to help people that we once were in ways that
Absolutely.
we struggled with ourselves. So for me, I think part of it was I had to go on this earthly journey myself of spiritual awakening to really get deeper into myself and really understanding what the symptoms were showing me, which was symptomatic of something larger, which I call unmattering, that I think so many people are experiencing today.
Mhm.
Do you think that's a common walk that people have to go through?
Absolutely. I think about my journey, and like I've shared in the last podcast, I have a lot of death by suicide in my family, both my brothers and my mother. And I went through infertility and I went through bad adoptions. And there's all these things that I had to experience. And now in my life, I help people with those things. I don't think I would have been capable of helping them had I not understood it. I think that book knowledge is important, but it is not living knowledge. And when you live a particular way in life, that knowledge becomes real and the understanding of how to heal that. Now, we have tons of people on the planet that go through a lot and never heal anything. And they're trying to help people, unfortunately. Heal thyself and then be willing to open that door to helping others. But every experience I've ever had has been a door for me. Every wrong decision has been a lesson and a means to find the right decision. The script tells us don't make a bad decision, right? The script we learn as children, don't be bad, don't do it wrong, do it right, get but good grades, all these scripts we learn. And what I've learned on my journey is that through my own what I would even call failure, but it's a bad word. My own experiences that didn't work out, I learned what did. So, in actuality, my greatest lessons were my darkest lessons. And when I got that, it turned a light bulb on for me. And I went, oh, now I understand because I could go through my life saying, why me? Why did I go through all that? Why did I have to experience all that? Now I understand. These lessons that were so painful taught me how to be more. I was more for it, not in spite of it, which is a huge empowering comment because I think we go, in spite of everything I've been through, I'm still a good person. No, because of everything I've been through, I'm a good person. And I chose that. I chose that route. I chose healing others and helping others with my experiences. So the deeper we get into our soul understanding of why we experience what we experience, the more we can help people. What we do with our brains is go to, I can't do this. I can't handle it. I'm not enough. I won't get through it. What am I supposed to do with this? I can't live through this. We go to all those places, and that's our grief process. And we hope that we get to the other side of it that says, okay, I'm empowered by this. And I can do something with this that can help the greater good, not the common good necessarily, but the greater good more and expand that even beyond what I think I'm capable of expanding because I have taken the time to heal and to be more for it.
I love that. So we have people of understanding of mediumship from many different levels. Some I think are full believers, and if they're one of your followers, they understand it extremely well. We might have other people who are tuning in for the first time. What is evidential mediumship and how does it actually work?
I wish I knew how it actually worked. I always go, "What?" Okay, so let me explain that. When I give people information about their loved ones that I simply could not know, and they say, "How could you know that?" And their hand goes over their mouth. I'm thinking, "How could I know that?" And what it's really about is opening up that pathway with spirit. Mediumship is speaking to the people who have crossed over because love does not end. They want to be near us as much as we want them near us. And love is a survival. Love survives all, everything, and it's universal. I've never met one person on the planet that hasn't at least felt love once. Everyone has this ability to connect with love. And mediumship, I know that in some religious sectors, it's considered very demonic and bad and all those things. But for me, my belief and what I've been able to do is help people heal with connection to their loved ones. They are always giving us signs, it is everywhere. And to believe that we love so extensively and give our whole souls to someone, and then God's spirit just takes them away and they never exist with us again. And that doesn't fit for my understanding of what they taught me. So what I do is I might be with in a room with someone and I'll just feel their loved one or someone that has passed and I'll give them information. For instance, I might get their name and I might know their last conversation, or they'll tell me what they did for a living or what they loved or how they're giving signs. And those signs are relevant to the person I'm talking to. And all of this is making sense to that person, shockingly to me also. And it just comes flowing in. And I don't read minds. So I'm absolutely certain it's coming from a greater place, a more beautiful place. Our loved ones want us to know they're there, that they haven't just left us and they don't exist any longer. And they do everything in their power to give us that. The problem is that we are so resistant to that. Yet, in the Bible and in other ways that we study, it's very clear that mediumship is in existence. It's very clear that the Sermon on the Mount was a communication. It's very clear that Adam and Eve had communication. It's very clear that Joseph and Mary had communication with angels and they were communicating telepathically. And that's really what it feels like. Do I say that I'm one of those? No, I am not, none of those beautiful entities. However, the communication still exists and they are trying desperately to get to us. There's an area of the brain that is tested with mediumship where they actually can show a change where it lights up where it doesn't when we're not in mediumship. So that's so interesting to me.
It's interesting to me too, because before I started to understand this better, I used to think mediumship was more of an innate gift. But I think Susan Giesman is a good example of someone who has shown that it's a developmental skill.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I've really learned is that I think you've got spirit guardians that are around you all the time, but I believe you have to invite them in for them to take action into your life. And I think that's a skill or a practice that a lot of people really get confused about. How does someone go about doing that if they're not comfortable with the idea or with the knowledge that these beings are trying to guide them, but they might not be allowing them to do?
It's a willingness. That's all it is. And it's just a conversation, just like we're having. So I wake up in the morning and I am willing to connect in to something greater than me. People do it every day with prayer. They do it every day, but they don't understand when it's spirit guides. It's just a matter of saying, I invite you into my day today to guide me and show me. Guide really literally means, spirit guides literally mean a spirit guide, and they're guiding us. And it's just a matter of connecting in and welcoming them because we have free will. So if we didn't have free will, we'd have no reason to be here because we would not learn from our own choices and decisions in our soul process. So free will is urgently important. It's extremely important. And so we have to say to them, will you guide me in my free will choices so that I make better decisions today? It's like the little devil over here and the little angel over here. And,
Yeah.
the little angel saying, don't do that. Don't pick up that candy and put it in your mouth, little one. And the other one's going, but you want that candy really bad. That's our brain versus our spirit guide speaking to us and giving us information. So I want that in my life. So it's just a matter of, am I going to ask them? And again, it's just a conversation. It's a very simple one. Please come in and help me through my day. Even if you don't believe, does it harm to do it? You will find no, it actually helps you. It actually guides you and you'll see the results. So it's just a matter of people tell me, but I don't believe they're there. And I go, that's okay. I don't always believe things are happening right in front of my face, but I still go with it. And I learned that, oh, this is actually real. Now, this is changing how I do my life, how I interact, how I make choices. I do end up hearing that little voice on my shoulder saying, don't go down that road.
Do you believe that there are both positive spiritual guides and negative spiritual guides, and that sometimes the negative is trying to block out the one who's trying to positively influence you?
That's not really my belief system. I believe spirit guides are always for the greater good, but sometimes we don't like what we hear. And so we think they're negative. Like I have been told things or given guidance to things that I go, no way, that's wrong. That's not going to work. And they're pushing me into it. And ultimately, if I take that action, it almost always works. But I'm thinking they're giving me negative information. Also, I do believe that there are imprints of negative energy, but I don't believe that when we leave this planet, we are not healed. I believe we are healed. We are cured. We are fixed. We are loved and we are loved. And so that's what I saw. So, no, what I believe is our brain becomes our natural enemy. And we have to have it to function on this planet. We have to have ego in order to survive. It's your survival mechanism, it's a
Right.
necessary thing. But I also think that the ego can go against us.
Susan, what are some of the ways that spirits communicate? Because it's not always like you're getting a direct message. Sometimes it comes in really unexpected ways. Could you give some different examples of that?
Well, obviously, they love creatures in nature. So they'll use creatures in nature to communicate with us if they're around. Their most important message is I'm here. I'm here and I love you. I'm here and I'm in your world. I have not left you. That's their most important message. But they will do things like turn radios on and off, or bring us, you might say, play me the song we got married with. And all of a sudden you're hearing that song everywhere you go. Or I might be outside and I might be thinking about nothing really. And I might see a hummingbird that buzzes by my head and I may think nothing. But the next day, for whatever reason, it feels real to me in a different kind of way. And this rush of, oh, my mom's energy is with me right now will come over me. People always say to me, well, I see butterflies. And so how do I know it's them? And I say, because of what you feel, not what are you feeling? What is it eliciting? What's the emotion coming into you at that moment? Because I see butterflies all the time and I don't think anything. And then again, that one time where it's coming towards me and I think, I feel like that's someone I love, and they land and it lands on me. There it is. Right? There it is. You can't deny it. What are the odds? We have to look at spirit speaks to us in repetition. So whenever I am repeatedly getting the same thing, I know that is someone on the other side trying to connect with me. And that's my best way to know it. So it's not just a random one time thing. It is repetition, repetition. And that's how I learn how to speak with them, is through repetition, behavior, the repetition of their behavior and mine.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last month, for a period of about 3 weeks, we had a monarch butterfly in different forms that kept showing up and we kept seeing it. And typically we'll see butterflies and they go. But what struck me was, for me, I was going through a period of time where I was trying to decide where I should house my next book. And I was really conflicted on where I should take it: large, big five publisher, self publish. Do I go to a smaller imprint? And it was really important because at the backdrop of this is the topic is really core to to the mission that I was given many years ago. And to me, it's the whole time I've written this book, I've really asked that the words not be mine, but the words that people are meant to hear. And so I felt that this butterfly was there trying to guide me on that decision. And then once I made the decision, the butterfly kind of disappeared.
That's how it works. They will utilize, especially creatures, but because I think energetically it's easy to push them around and move them around and have them come in front of you. We witness them so readily. We're willing to witness them. It's, do we connect the message is the question. And once we get the message, there it is. It's like the repetition happens, we get the message and then it stops. How coincidental can that be if it happens to us over and over in our journey? We just have to be present. One of the things I probably said in the last podcast, and I'll say it in every podcast I go on, is life is in session, be present. If you don't know the flowers that you just walked past and what color they were, how would you know if you're walking with a spirit guide or a spirit loved one? How would you know when they send you a message? Because you're not present, your mind's somewhere else. So you have to be present in the moments. It's like even on a podcast, and I say this truthfully, our mind can start going because someone's talking. You have to pull yourself back and be present in the moment to give the messages that spirit wants you to give. And it doesn't matter if you call spirit God. It doesn't matter if you say spirit Jesus. It doesn't matter if you say spirit Buddha. None of that matters. What matters is that you're connected to the entity on the other side, the higher vibrational energy, the source of your existence. And it's being present to do, which means you're going to see the messages if you're present. You don't have to look for them, they'll come to you. And we, even with spirit guides and loved ones, we don't have to look for them. They come to us. It's a matter of working that muscle. It's a muscle. So here's what's interesting is people say, well, how do I work the muscle? Which might be your next question. It doesn't matter if I pick up a 1 pound can of beans or I pick up a 1 pound weight. If I'm lifting it the same way, I'm working the muscle. So there are all different ways to work those muscles, and we want to work that muscle, that mediumship muscle. So when I am present in the moment, I'm able to bring in what's around me. I'm able to feel and sense. So maybe I call it awareness, acceptance, and action. I'm aware something's in the room and something's changed. My hair stands on end, or I'm getting goosebumps, or I'm feeling a whoosh, or a coldness, or a warmth. Something's changed. I become aware. They become aware I'm aware. And they're excited. Then I accept. I say, I accept something's here. And I'm going to be present in this moment to take it in. And I'm going to accept it. And they go, oh, she's accepted me. And then I go to action, which is trust. And I just say, I trust you're here to give me a message. I'm open and ready and willing, and I'm present. And boom, here comes the message. And that's how it works for me. And if you practice that 3-step, and actually those 3 steps are in a lot of psychological studies. A lot of times you'll read books and they'll talk about, they may use different words, awareness, acceptance, and action. But again, it's being present in that moment and taking those steps. And once you do, here they come. So it's not difficult. It's simple, but it's not easy. Because being present is very difficult. We have a brain that wants to be everywhere else. That's why we have anxiety, because we're always projecting into the future.
I always say we have the pinball brain because
Yeah.
the brain is like a pinball, and it's constantly bouncing off the next distraction that hits us.
Exactly. Exactly. And it loves trauma, right? It loves to be in, I'll say drama. It loves to be in the drama of everything. And that's a lack of understanding right where we need to be. So something happens and someone will call me and say, I'm so upset this happened. And I'll go, what's your soul telling you about it? And what are you
Well,
learning from this? Not I'm a victim of it, but how can I empower myself with this knowledge and this feeling? How can this feeling I have of being out of sorts actually empower me to do the next right thing?
yeah, and you mentioned, Susan, research, because as I've been doing more research, there's a growing body of both scientific as well as religious research on mediumship that's being put out into the world, and
Yeah.
also on past life memories. Are there certain studies or findings that you think are most compelling?
Well, I love anything Raymond Moody puts out about his research that he does and connecting in with people who have NDEs. I can't cite the research, but I'm always reading it. I wish I could cite it, but I am always reading it. And I'll go online and read about mediumship and religion and mediumship. And my research is personal because I live it every day. I remember when my mother in law, who is on the other side now, so she knows I'm going to talk about her. She was telling me she was very Catholic, and I grew up as a young girl with Catholicism, and she was telling me the priests say it's evil, and the priest this and the priest that. So there was this young priest at her church. He was really hip and cool. He had long hair. He played guitar. He was really hip. All the kids loved him. And I went to him and said, I'm told this is evil. And he said, well, I don't know if it's necessarily evil. He says, it depends upon what you're doing with something, doesn't it? Does the intent matter? And I said, well, let me tell you what I see in you. Because he didn't believe, but intent mattered to him. And I had good intention.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. But I ended up telling him what I saw around him. And he said, these are things you could not know. Unless a loved one was here telling you about that conversation and what happened, you could not know this about me. You could study me everywhere on land and you would not find this information. I believe you. What is your intention of telling me? And I said twofold. One is for my own feeling of I need to be told I'm not evil. And the other is to open that pathway for you. And after that, he would talk to me and say, hey, you know what happened? And so I felt I wasn't vilified. I was actually told what truth is. He told me truth, which is my intention of doing mediumship, my reasons for doing what I do matter. So if I'm going into mediumship for my ego and I have to be right, and I meet mediums like that all the time, they'll say, I'm absolutely right. I know I am. And if you don't believe, and you're going to find out, and all this other stuff. And I just look at them and say, you don't have to be right. You just have to give what you have. And if it helps them, wonderful. It's like when people talk about past life regressions and everyone goes, no, there's no such thing. And I go, okay, it's okay you have that belief system that you don't believe there's past lives. But if you were to do a regression, and let's say you were afraid of drowning this whole life journey, you never went on a boat, you wanted to, but you had this deep, dark fear of it so intensely. And you went into a past life regression with someone with hypnotic abilities, and you found out in that regression that you believe and saw and experienced a death on water from falling out off a boat as a child in a previous journey. And you came back from that and said to me, oh my gosh, I now understand. I'm going to go get on a boat because now I know it's not anything I need to worry about in this life journey. Then it's done its job. So, regardless of whether you believe in that or not, it's done its job to help you heal. And that's what mediumship is. It does its job to help you heal.
So, if more people truly understood what happens when we die, how do you think it would change how we live?
Absolutely 100%. And that's the problem. We would no longer learn. We would do the right thing always, never learning. We might as well stay on the other side. So our lessons are our darkest moments. My darkest past is my greatest teacher. And it's what I know I don't want. And it's taught me to be better. So we have to have these lessons in order to grow and expand. So if we knew what was waiting for us, what was on the other side, we'd never make a free will choice. We'd make a choice being safe. We would have fear of making the wrong decision, where the wrong decision teaches you the right way.
I sometimes believe our souls choose our life experiences, but then it makes me wonder, if that's the case, then why do our souls sometimes choose profound hardship for the life that we're going to experience?
Well, our souls choose the basic impact of the life. So let me give an example. If I choose to be married on this journey in my contracts, and was in the room of knowledge, by the way, that I had witnessed when I was young. So let's say I chose to be married. I will be married, hands down, if that is a contract. Who I marry, how long I marry, the kind of marriage I have. Is it a healthy marriage? Is it a toxic marriage? All of those things, what I do in my marriage. All of those things are free will to help me grow and expand. So that's why free will is in existence here. And that's why we have contracts. So a contract is the basic major opportunity of growth that we say, I want my soul to understand and resonate in the understanding of marriage. I didn't, and that's one of my contracts. It's the bigger picture marriage. It's what I've decided I want it to look like. But the journey and lesson in it is my free will. And the free will of the person I married, what he does in the marriage or she, what they decide they want it to look like, their free will
Yeah.
choices. So we have two people with free will choices. What are we going to do with that? And how do we learn to work together and grow and work as a team and be in unity? Because isn't that what this is really about? Is the unification of the human existence. We are so cut in apart and separate. We have
Yes.
separated ourselves so much, and we want a commonality to come together. And that includes in the small things like marriage and children. And there's commonality in that. And we expand our greater awareness and consciousness, the consciousness of the universe, when we come in unity. And we are beings that don't understand total unity here. I think we get it on the other side. I just think that we want to expand that knowledge and show ourselves. So if I were to say to you, the ocean is beautiful. It is everything. It shines, it glimmers, it's salt water, and you had never seen it. It sticks to your skin. You roll in the waves, and you had never experienced that. You read about it. I've told you about it. You've looked at pictures of it, but you've never truly experienced it. Would you really know the ocean until you do? And that's why we're here. We want to understand everything. We are
Right.
creatures that want to know. And so we come here for that. And in that is free will. It has to be. Otherwise, we're just robotic.
Yeah, two of the guests that I've had on this show, Dr. Andy or Andrew Newberg and Dr. David Yaden, are really involved in trying to understand spiritual experiences. And Yaden is doing a lot of psychedelic research to understand those spiritual experiences, but also to understand why it's so connected to the feeling of awe. But there's been a lot of work that shows that psychedelic research and NDE survivors describe remarkably similar encounters. What do you think that reveals about the nature of consciousness?
I think it reveals that we're tapping into that area of our brain that is able to click in or connect in. And we have this ability to actually be in both worlds. I feel like I walk in both worlds. And when they utilize these chemicals, they're able to simulate those experiences because it exists over and over in our journey. We go there, we come back, we go there, we come back. And we're able to tap into the there, whatever that is. It opens up that area of our knowledge, of our consciousness. It literally opens it. Now, something like people also say that if you, when you die, DMT takes over, or medicines can take over and they create the experience, but they don't bring you the same kind of knowledge, the one-on-one, the gravity of the truth of consciousness, the beauty of the truth of consciousness. It does go far beyond that with an NDE. I find, yes, it's similar, but yet an NDE is, it's real, it's reality. You're
Right.
in a different reality completely, spiritually, emotionally, physically, in every way. So there is a difference, but it does open that pathway. The lessons that we learn when we're there are similar, but not quite as profound when we take psychedelics. At least that's what I've found so far. Does that mean that it's not valuable? Absolutely not. It's just extremely valuable. And I think that they're going to find that what they're tapping into is that portion of our knowledge base, our spiritual beings, not just the brain, which
Mm-hmm.
is what psychedelics tap into, but the soul. That's what we want to get them to. When you cross over, you're not just there. Brain is a word I use for also our hearts. Our hearts have 40,000 neurons. You know, that it has learning capacity, memory capability. That's what goes with us when we leave. Our brain has a lot of junk in it. So when you're doing something like psychedelics, you're tapping into the brain area. The soul area is another whole experience when you leave this planet. The soul changes dramatically, and things with your soul and the brain knowledge both, which you cannot create, to my knowledge, with psychedelics. So there's just a step beyond that. Does that mean it's not valuable? Absolutely. It is very valuable. However, I think we forget that the soul is involved with leaving the planet and coming to this planet. It's not just putting a chemical in our brain and moving through that. And I don't say just meaning belittling it. Again, I think it's extremely valuable. You're getting a taste of what it is.
One of the things I find, and you have a podcast as well, is that I think a lot of people listen to the podcast, but fewer really apply what they hear on the show into their lives. And so I personally have been trying to create workbooks and other things to get people to take the next step so that you apply what you hear. But where I'm going with this is I think the same thing happens with people who've had powerful experiences. They have the experience, they get the knowledge, but then they don't know how to integrate them into their life. What's your guidance for that?
Well, I would say to you, if you don't know what to do in your journey, you come in front of you, you bring your highest, most perfect self and ask your highest self. When I'm confused or I need to integrate knowledge or understanding and I don't know where to go to find it, I literally will say, highest self, most perfect self, Susan, what would you do? And you will hands down get the right answer every single time because you're talking to the greatest part of you, the most magnificent part of you, which is your soul. Your soul is a vine to the divine. In my book, I talk about this. And that vine to the divine is your ability to tap into the knowledge base that you need. So at the end of the book, I have a little workbook. At the end of every chapter, actually, I have a little workbook, integration moment. It's an education moment. And I walk them through different ways to integrate what they just read. And it's extremely important. I think what you're doing is amazing because so many books I've read, I read them and I take it in, and then I don't know what to do with it. And then I have to go to my highest self and do all that stuff. But I want to encourage people if they don't know what to do when they've read something, but it seems to resonate with them in some way and they want to understand it more, ask your highest self. If there isn't a workbook to go to, bring that highest self in front of you because what I know is when I'm talking to my soul, I will get the right answer every single time because that's the vine to the divine. That's the connection.
So on the show, I end up doing a lot of work around behavioral science, and nudges play an extremely big role in behavior science. But in your book, on your podcast, in other things that I've seen you do, you also talk about the importance of learning to trust intuitive nudges that happen in everyday life, not things that just happen in moments of crisis. What's a practical way that someone listening can begin to start building that trust with their own intuitive nudges that they're experiencing?
Practice. If I say anything to someone, if you want to understand the difference between fear and intuition or understanding what's coming in, practice it. Intuition is internal and it's in the gut. Mediumship is outside of us, it's a higher vibrational energy. But intuition is in the gut. Your gut says something. What do you do with that? First of all, we evaluate it, right? My gut's telling me something. Am I trusting it? So if I walk into a room and I'm in the room with someone and my gut goes, ooh, something feels off here. What I do is I take it up to my brain, I process it, and then I drop it back down into my gut. The mistake that we make, unfortunately, with intuition is we take it to our brain and we leave it there. And our brain will tell us, oh, no, they're a good person. I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want this. I don't want that. And 3 months later, we go, I knew it. Why didn't I listen? Now I'm harmed. So we want to take it into our brain and process that intuitive hit as quickly as we can. That takes practice. So it comes into my gut, it goes up to my brain very quickly. And I go, I'm recognizing something. I'm aware of something. And then I drop it back down into my gut and I go, what is it I'm actually feeling and experiencing? I'm trying to think of his name. Oh my gosh, it just left my head. There's a doctor who wrote a book and he talks about getting into an elevator, and I know it will come to me. And he says, you're standing at the edge of the elevator door opens, you see someone standing there, they've got a briefcase, they feel really good, they look really good, they're put together, got their tie on, and your gut says, beware. And you say in your brain, you throw it up there and you say in your brain, oh no, I'm being really paranoid right now. This guy looks perfectly fine. You get in the elevator and you get robbed. You didn't listen to that intuition. That instant instinct, that instant feeling comes in and it resonates in you in the lower part of your gut. Or people say when they're upset, I just want to throw up,
Yeah.
or I have butterflies in my stomach. That's the area of intuition. And it connects into our soul source and it gives us information. And that is spirit talking to you. That's your knowing. And it's a beautiful energy, but we have to be listening to it and aware of it and not talk ourselves out of it. I hope that
Yeah.
answered the question.
Yeah, what you just said gave me goosebumps because that's exactly what I experience. I try to do my sessions where I try to tap into my intuitive gifts on my morning walks because I like to go out, 5:20 in the morning and there's no distractions. So I don't listen to anything. I just let the universe sit around me, and I try to pay attention to the sounds I'm hearing and the smells and the wind and just what the universe looks like. And it's when I try to ask some of the most profound questions or ask for guidance. And it's amazing sometimes when I get that guidance, I just feel this rush, which ends up sometimes I feel hot or cold at times. Times I'll feel a tingling sensation. Other times I get goosebumps. And to me, that's when I know that I've heard something and I really need to pay attention. Do you think I'm cueing into the right things?
I do. And there's the key right there. The two things you said and what you just said. I was present in the moments and I trusted the cue. I was present to feel. There are people that go walking all the time and they don't even know what they passed and they don't even feel anything going on in their body. They're just like power walking and that's all they're thinking about. They're thinking about the grocery list or they're thinking about an argument they had with someone. They're not present. So back to that, presence is everything with intuition. You know, if I go to step in that elevator, but when I opened the elevator door, I was thinking about my grocery list and driving home and the traffic and everything else, I wouldn't even notice that person standing there. I just jump in. So you want to pause and you want to take note, and that's being present. That's exactly what you just said. And that is tuning in to truth, to the universal truth. They are talking to us at all times. They are giving us messages always. We just have to decide whether we're going to listen.
So I'm going to switch gears on you just a little bit. For the past couple of decades, there's been an exodus that's been happening from organized religion. But recently, we've seen the beginnings of a reversal where more and more people seem to be coming back to their spiritual roots. What gives you the most hope about how humanity today is possibly evolving spiritually?
My first comment to that is that I really believe that spirit allows things to happen in our world that we ask why, and that's exactly why. Because those things that are happening bring us back. It's not that they create that circumstance,
Yeah.
we as humans do, but they allow those circumstances to occur. And people go, if they really love me, why would they let this happen? And I try to tell them, this guides you into asking the question. Before you wouldn't even have asked that question. Now all of a sudden you're wanting to know them and you're wanting to know why. And that why matters. So my feeling is as we're guiding people into the truth of what's happening around them and they're more present, they are moving into a place of wanting more understanding. Somebody said to me one time, do you believe in God? And I said, yes, I do. And they said, do you ever struggle with it? And I said, every day. And they said, do you ask questions? And I said, I'm always asking why this and why that. Why do you let this happen? Why did that child pass? Why this? Why that? And they said, as long as you're asking the question, you're connected. And I've never forgotten that. And people are asking the question. And because of the way the energy is here on this planet, the way that we've allowed ourselves to move away from that question and think that our egos can dictate our growth and our spirituality, we have gotten in pretty deep and it's gotten pretty dark. And we have this ability now to move over and say, why? And you're asking the question, and that is your connection. So that is my belief system of why things are changing. And then after why, it's what and how. What do I need to do differently and how do I do it? Because the why won't take you there. The why is just the movement into it. Why is spirit allowing this? Why do I need to get closer to my soul? That question needs to exist, and that's what's created here. And then when we're there, it's what do I need to do different, spirit, and how do I do it? And that's when we're connecting in, truly connecting in.
Susan, a little birdie whispered in my ear that you might have another book or possibly two coming out. Is there anything that you can share about them and perhaps tease our
Yes.
curiosity?
Yeah. So one of the books that's coming out is The Spirit Codes. And it's not just why is the butterfly in front of me, but what are they trying to say to me? So a medium goes a step further. Yes, you've seen a butterfly. This is the message. How do we get that message? How do we understand what that message is for that day, that moment, that space and time? So I'm teaching those codes, the what spirit utilizes to get us to understand their message. And the other book, which I think people are going to love, by the way, I think it's going to help them so much connect in and understand. And then the other, so it's not just science. And then the other one is healing. So it's called Infinite Healing. And I probably will change the name at some point, but it's about the dark night of the soul and how that can guide us into all of our conversation we just had. How do those dark nights take us to a place of connecting with the greater good, the greater higher consciousness, and to heal? How do we do that? And how do we recognize we need that healing? Because we're so used to the script of just get yourself up, pull your panties up, put on your bootstraps, and go. That's what we're
Right.
taught. And that is not how it works. That is not how we grow, change, and expand. So it's about expanding through learning about that dark night of the soul and then facing it. Really, the byline is facing the pain that binds us. We want to face that so then we can get unbound by it and understand the greater message of that pain.
I love it.
Thank
Susan,
you.
it was such an honor to have you back today. For listeners who want to learn more about the podcast, your current book, I understand TV shows that you're going to be in and other things. Where's the best place for them to go?
SusanGraw.com is for my website, which will tell them everything that's coming up. I also have SusanGrawAuthor.com that has my book on it, and my new books will be put there. And Instagram, Susan Grau Official, everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. But a lot of times you just type in Susan Grau. I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. Things will come up for you. So we're always putting things out there.
Susan,
Oh, and
love
the podcast.
yes. Love having you on the show again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved being here.